Why don't we get started? Okay. Howdy, everybody. My name is Seth Dimbert. I appreciate you all coming out to hear the talk today. I'll tell you 15 seconds about myself because you should know something about the person who's standing up here in front of you. I live in Teaneck, New Jersey. Until recently, I lived here down in South Florida. This past August, I moved up for some reason to New Jersey, where today's weather would be a warm spring day in New Jersey. I work at a private Jewish day school that you've never heard of in Paramus. We have 800 students, pre-K through 8th grade, and that's kind of what I do. But it's the highlight of my year, really, to come to places like this, to meet people, to get together with like-minded folks, to have an opportunity to share. This is a great conference, so good for you guys for being here. The talk today is called The Single iPad Classroom Transformation, and it's kind of the result of a challenge at last year's conference, where I gave a presentation about iPads in the classroom, and afterwards someone came up and said, you know, I have the situation where we don't have technology in the school, and so I have my iPad, and I don't mind using it in school, but what can you recommend for me in my classroom with just my own iPad? And I'm certain, right, none of you are in a school like that, right? Everybody here has a cart full of iPads in the back of the room, right? Just the one or two of you who are in a single iPad classroom, could you raise your hand? Just the one or two of you, right? Okay, good. So hopefully, all right, that's the right room, right people, good. Hopefully it's the right information, right? I'm going to do my best, and we'll see. Just before we get started, here's a neat idea I stole from somebody. You guys know about Remind 101? Right? Works on just a single iPad, so it kind of fits the idea here. But I created a little group in Remind 101, and if you send a text message to that information, and I'll read it in just a second, then any of the links or apps or anything that I share today, I could just send out links to that stuff, and you'll get it on your smartphone. You won't have my phone number. I won't have your phone number. That's what makes Remind 101 so great. That, and they bought free beer for everybody last night if you went to their little shindig. So good for them on that, too. The phone number is 317-661-2827. And send the code at FETC-1iPad, single iPad. See? Certainly will. Area code 317-661-2827. And the code is at FETC-1iPad, the number 1, IPAD. Down at the bottom, there's an email address. I got a gentleman in a group yesterday from Germany who didn't have phone access here, so he asked me how you subscribe by email. So if you're here, that's how you do that. It's down there at the bottom. Me neither. 1iPad at, no, FETC-1iPad at mail.remind101.com. So this is me like modeling. See what I'm doing here? I'm modeling what you could do in your classrooms. What? I certainly will, yeah. And this is real low pressure, right? The slides will be up on Edmodo, the things I talk about. Really, it'll all be there, but we should all communicate all the different ways we can. And I stole the idea, so I want to give credit to Leslie Fisher. If you've heard her talk, she's great, and I totally stole this idea from her, and she said it was fine as long as I tell you, so there she is. All right, so the single iPad classroom transformation, or I bought the damn thing. Now what do I do with it, right? All right, they like that one. We can go. Okay, so that's the talk, and here's the proposition, right? The idea is that you're going to transform your classroom for less than $1,000 with just an iPad, right? That's the bet. Can we do that? So real quick, you raised your hands before, single iPad teachers. Let me see show of hands if it's yours personally. That's a lot of people, right? So good for you guys for being dedicated and understanding that it's an important tool, or raising your hand because somebody gave you an iPad or you bought an iPad for yourself and you decided to use it for work too. That's cool. But I thought I'd spend just, are you here for me?
Yes, which iPad do you have?
It's this, and I have this, which gets the HDMI.
Okay.
I don't have that for VGA, but if you do, I'll use it.
Yeah, then I have this one.
Yeah.
Let me see if the projector does it.
All right. So I thought I'd talk for 30 seconds in case anybody considering an iPad purchase, or should I blow right through this information? Would it be useful? Right, so just which one is best? I get that question a lot. People ask, which iPad should I buy? And basically it boils down to screen size and price. We're out of luck, huh? All right, I'll make it work. Thanks. Does it get to VGA? That's awesome. Yes, give her a hand. Thank you. I should have just asked these 100 people in the room instead of the one guy. I'm going to use this a little bit later. Thank you for saving the show, and please don't let me walk out the door with it. because I have to be in Hollywood, Florida at 5 o'clock. So it's going to be an interesting afternoon. So which one is best, right? People ask me that question. And if you just, it boils down to screen size and price. They've made it more complicated now because they've got 2 different big iPads and 2 different little iPads. But the difference between a Retina display and a non-Retina display, it honestly doesn't matter, right? One looks better, okay, but the other one looks fine too. So capacity, right? That's important. It's essentially $100 more to get twice as much capacity, $100 more to get twice as much capacity. So that's a decision. I can't tell you about that, but it boils down to screen size. I personally use an iPad mini. I've loved it since the day I picked it up. Right, I've got this nifty case on the back so I can walk around in the classroom and forget that it's there. And it spins around, right? So there's that. But if you want the bigger one, get the bigger one. If you want the high pixel count display, get the fancy Retina display. That's not a deciding factor. The deciding factor is screen size and then storage capacity, right? Which is more important, price or storage capacity, price or screen size. So that's my recommendation there for what it's worth. And then do you want to buy the extra radio inside that lets you get online when you're not on a Wi-Fi network? That boils down to, are you ever going to need to get online without a Wi-Fi network? And it's easy to think about the price cost, right? It's $130 more at every price point. So if you look, right, the first one there, $499, if you drop down to the bottom of that column, it's $629, right? $500 up to $630. The only difference is the extra radio inside. And then you pay monthly for service from whoever your provider is, and that's monthly turn it on, turn it off. So you can use it when you're going on a trip and then not use it again. You could use it if you're going to the park for a field day and then not use it next month. Does that make sense? So I'm going to sort of leave that there. If you have a smartphone that's got data on it, then you don't need to pay the $130. On the other hand, if you're flush, then pay the $130 and then use it when you need it, or if you never need it, at least you had it and didn't need it, as opposed to the other way around. All right, good. At this point, because I talked about cell phones, I stuck this little note in here. Google Apps schools? Anybody? Google Apps for education schools? A couple of hands, good. You got to use Google Gmail, particularly if you're an iPad user. And there's specific instructions about how to set it up on your iOS device. And this is this is Google's help page that I've linked you to here, mrd.net/Gmail. And if you look what they tell you to do, they tell you to not choose the Google account, but to choose a different kind of account, a Microsoft Exchange account. I'm not going to bother with telling you the detailed reasons why they're different, but I will tell you that if you work in a school that uses Google Apps, the whole team, and they do things like meeting requests, and they schedule things on your calendar, and you have to be there when someone puts something on your calendar, that kind of a school situation, then following these instructions makes that work a whole lot better. More pop-up reminders, more notifications, more ability to say yes and no. So instead of choosing Google, Google tells you to choose the Microsoft option. And I just thought I'd throw that in because a lot of people don't know that. All right. So the first thing you do, right, you've got your iPad in your classroom, and as we can demonstrate here, it's hard to see, right? We've got to get this up on the wall. So the first portion of my talk deals with how we get the images from your screen up on the wall. And I didn't build this, but I'm proud to show it to you. Here's sort of a detailed walkthrough on all the different ways you can get your iPad display up on the wall. The very first FETC workshop I ever went to was a woman talking about iPhones. And she had the document camera, right? And she was showing me her iPhone and it was blurry and glare. That's one of the options. We'll talk about that. So the first one is what I'm going to use, is Apple's adapter. Right, the price is there, you plug it in, works great. You don't have to be a fancy presenter guy to know this, right? What's the downside? You got to connect, right? You got to plug in, you got to get down under the computer and unplug whatever's there. And if there's someone friendly in your district or your school who can handle those wires for you, great. If not, then you're going to do it, and if you can't, then you're going to look at another option. If you teach in 5 different classrooms, that's going to get to be a real drag, for example, right? So that's the first option, and Apple charges more for their adapters than the third-party adapter people do, right? On my drive up here from Hollywood, I stopped and bought 3 different chargers. I promise this is true, for my iPhone 5S. 3 different chargers, because it died on my way up here, and it was my map to get to my hotel. I didn't have the address or anything. It was on the phone, and I started to panic as I got closer. And the $12 chargers you buy at the rest stops don't work. You plug them in, and it just doesn't work. There's a little chip in here So you can make the right cable, but if you don't have the little chip that Apple sells, the manufacturers, then it just doesn't work. It works a little bit, then it stops. It works if your battery's okay, but not if it's empty. It just doesn't work. So I bought 3 of them. The third one I stopped, got off the turnpike, found a T-Mobile store, and bought theirs. And it was twice as much. It was $30. And that one works great, right? So it's worth paying for Apple's hardware adapters if that's the option you're going to use. The second option, like I talked about, is the document camera. iPivo makes a great document camera, right? There's really no reason to spend more than $69 for this. We're going to talk in a couple of minutes about how if you have an iPad, you really don't need a document camera. But if you've already got one, it's a way to get your iPad screen up on the wall. I don't recommend it. All the other options are better, but it works. Third is Apple TV. Anybody use these in your schools? Cool. It's a great technology. It's very frustrating for the people who are in charge of your network, right? It's not easy to use. It doesn't work well. It doesn't play well with other kind of networks. But if you've got one, it works great. You just, you double tap on your iPad screen. I can't show you this without having already done it. But you double tap your iPad screen, and it's your home button, and it's an option right there. You pick your Apple TV, and you're up on the wall. And that's a very powerful thing. It's full motion, full audio, full video. Everything you ever see on the iPad screen shows up on the wall. It's a $99 box. The one I carry with me for presentations is my family's, right? So my son is upset with me because here it is. My 16-year-old son is not watching Netflix on this because I brought it with me for a week. But it's that big. You plug it into the wall. It has Wi-Fi. You plug it into your projector, and you're done. And it's got an HDMI port on the back. So that's a good option. You like these guys? Anybody? Round of applause, show of hands. These guys are great software products. Air Server and Reflector, sure. Except that they often don't work right, like today. Right? What these guys do is they run on your Mac or your PC, so the computer that's already in your classroom, already hooked up to that projector. Right? So if you've got a PC in your classroom, just install this software on it, and then your iPad wirelessly, it treats it like the Apple TV. Everything on the iPad screen shows up on your computer screen. But often it doesn't work. Complicated networks, for reasons I can't comprehend or explain. Right? It's not what I do. The other guys worry about that. And for those reasons, it just doesn't work sometimes. So they're not very expensive, right? $3, $4 to try it out for one of them. But it's worth an option. And here's a nifty little incentive. If you sign up for either of the lists I gave you at the beginning of the talk, I've got a couple of licenses for Air Server, and I'm going to choose somebody at random and send you an email and award you that. So if you haven't signed up yet, you want to do that. The information's at the end. Air Server and Reflector are both good companies. What are you pointing at? Oh, I should give one for the... Well, she doesn't need one because she's got this, right? I need... That's a good point. That's a good point. All right. So Air Server and Reflector are nice. Do we get that? Follow-up questions there? I'll keep moving. All right. iTools is on here because I didn't make the chart. I've never used it, but look what it says. Install software on your projector-connected computer and attach device using its USB or charge cable. So you have to plug in and install software, but it's free. So I've never used it. I don't recommend it. Here's a different way of looking at the chart. It was on the chart, though, so I show it to you, right? I didn't make that chart. I didn't make this one either. This is from a guy, some guys up in New Jersey called Tech, T-E-Q, and they've got this on their website as part of a whole iBook, PDF ebook called iPad in the Classroom. And it walks through sort of the pros and cons of all of them. It's just another way to look at it. And again, I'm not going to read this to you. It'll be on Edmodo, and I'll send it out, and you can get it yourself. We can move on and talk about some interesting stuff. The last option in this category is what almost saved my bacon this morning. Anybody ever heard of the iPad? A vendor sent this to me a couple years ago, and I literally used it one time. And then I never used it again until this morning. And it was my plan G, right? It's got this thing, which is 80% battery and 20% magic doohickey, that snaps into this guy and holds your iPad, right? So this is for the first iPad, but they make different sizes. And then you plug your wire into here in the bottom of your iPad, turn this on. It talks to this guy, who you plug into your projector with an HDMI cable, so not this projector, which is why I'm not using it, and it makes its own network and sends audio and video over the air, right? Why would you use that instead of any of the other options? does not require IT support, right? You don't have to bother them at all, right? You just plug, oh, don't look at that yet, right? You just plug it in and it works. So it's a network agnostic, right? Doesn't affect the bandwidth anywhere. It doesn't touch the Wi-Fi. It's its own network. That's awesome, right? I learned about that at FETC a couple of years ago during the app shootout thing, and I got really excited about it. And then I went to their website, and it starts, I believe, at $249, right? So not a reasonable option necessarily, unless you face these challenges a lot. But if they send you one, right? I mean, I've never used it, but it's out there and it's neat, and I can only imagine it'll be less expensive in the future as opposed to more expensive. So it's good to know about, right? The iPad Pro. I suppose if you teach in a room in a school that Wi-Fi doesn't reach, for example, this might be, what? Right, right. The gymnasium. We have teachers actually teaching middle school English classes in the locker rooms in our school. Yeah, they're not like what you'd imagine locker rooms necessarily to be, but they're called the locker rooms, and they're off the gymnasium. And there's, I forget why, there's no bathrooms nearby. There's no Wi-Fi. They're lucky the lights work. Right? It's not a good place to teach, but they have a lot of students, so that's good. Okay, so now what? Right? So that's the theory and the connection and all of that. And I'm just looking at the time. I'm going to move right along and take a second and plug in my iPad and see if we can't talk about some things you can do once you've got the iPad in your room and the image up on your wall. Okay? Cool. I don't know your name. I can't thank you by name. Denise, thank you so much. Here, if it works, right? If it doesn't work, everybody knows it's Denise's fault. Okay. Look at there. All right. Thank you, Denise. So I didn't spend as much time as I should have cleaning everything up here. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with the talk because this is my iPad, but I'd imagine some of you are in the same situation, so I did that on purpose. Right? So, so now what do you do with it? You've got the iPad, now what? So one of the things you can do with it is, and I'm not going to demo this, but I'm just going to talk about it, is you can use the iPad to control the computer in your classroom. Right? And why would that be a good idea? Because there's software on the computer that you want to use, and it's not on your iPad. So I can stand somewhere besides this point, anywhere in the room, and control the computer. So are there any technology teachers in the room? Computer classes. Cool. So imagine teaching Word or Photoshop or any of those applications, but not standing in the front of the room to do it because you've got your computer interface here. And now you're walking around the room clicking on the toolbars right here. Right? That's neat. Anything that you can do on your PC, you could then do in the palm of your hand. The two big players in this space, and they both are excellent products, they do exactly what they're supposed to do, are Splashtop and Doceri. People are very passionate about their opinions in regard to these two vendors. And Splashtop is here down on the show floor. Steve Rokov is the guy who's down in the booth, and he's great. And Doceri, I don't know if they're, yeah, they are. They have a booth downstairs also, right? I'm more familiar with Splashtop, but they're both great. I don't use either one because there's really nothing in my life that I do on a computer. Everything I do is on the iPad, right? So I don't have the need to control a computer application. And in the few cases where there are things that I'd like to do on the computer, I find the process of controlling a computer with my fingers so clumsy that I'd rather find an iPad equivalent, even if it means using two apps or finding a workaround. But if that's what you need to do, those are the two good ones. Splashtop is a real innovator in this space. He's got a new demo now of the ability to show video on multiple iPads in the room at the same time. So instead of sending from here to my computer, I can control my computer on your screen, and on your screen, and on your screen. Amazing stuff. I don't know how they do it, but it's very, very cool. So that's Splashtop and Doceri. All right, you just got to try it and see if you like it, and both are free to try. You download something to your iPad, something else to the computer, and then you're off and running. People ask, right, can this be a desktop replacement? I've got this case. It's got a keyboard in it. Any of you have one of these? A case with a keyboard attached, a Bluetooth keyboard, or you carry the keyboard in your bag. The only time I ever found that to be useful, I was on a train for like 4 hours, and I did a lot of writing, and that was nice. I've gotten used to the iPad keyboard, right? I'm a real believer in this device. But if you need a keyboard, if that's how you prefer to type, they work. But the wrong way, I think, I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second, to think about this is to try to turn this into a replacement for your desktop. That's not the right way to approach this. The right way to approach it is to do things on your iPad instead of replacing the last tool. Outside of speaking like this, when I run presentations from my computer, I almost never use a desktop or laptop computer anymore. I sit with it on my desk all the time, but I use my iPad. And I won't say I know what it's going to look like, but I know that my son, who is in kindergarten this year, so he's 6, is never going to use a computer with a keyboard and a mouse. I don't know what he will use, but I do know that he's never going to sit at a desk with a keyboard and a mouse, right? That day is over. There are apps that can replace or approximate the Microsoft Office experience. We have a lot of Office users in the room, quick show of hands. Google Docs users, that's a smaller number, so okay. I'd imagine that proportion is going to change. I'd say if you're going to be on Apple's hardware, then use Apple's software. That's the great place to start, and they've now made the entire iWork suite free. So if you've never seen it, right, this little, where is it, Pages? Oh, it's the orange one now, right here, Pages, right? It's a word processor, and it works great. And the nice thing about Apple's iWork apps is that they work on the iPad, they work on the Mac, and they work on any computer and a web browser, and you have access to your files in all of those places. It's exactly the same program. So if you look at this document, if it opens up, am I on the network? No, of course not. There we go. It says, I was typing, this is Apple's Pages for iCloud running on a Chromebook. Pretty crazy that it works so well, because I produced this document sitting at my desk on a Chromebook using Pages in iCloud. Right? And here it is on my iPad. That's pretty crazy, and it's exactly the same program in all those places. Learn to use it once, and it works everywhere. It's designed for your finger, as opposed to some of these other options, for example. This one works like a magic trick. Anybody seen Cloud On? One hand? It's like a magic trick, right? Cloud On is, and all of this depends on the network, so if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Cloud On is Microsoft Office on your iPad. All of Office, like not a little bit of Office, but literally all of it. Let's see if I can log in. This is always risky. Would everyone please turn off their internet-enabled... No, I'm kidding. I don't even seem to be... Give me 15 seconds to check. I don't even seem to be on the network. Cloud On is absolutely free, and it absolutely gives you all of Office like 2000 and something. All the toolbars, all the buttons, and if you try it, I can't show it to you. If you try, because it lives entirely in the cloud. But if you try it, it's amazing until you realize, wow, I can't hit any of those buttons with my finger. You're on now. Fantastic. I knew that. Thank you. Okay, so let's try it again. Thanks. It may now want me to go to a web page, and I hate wasting time like this. I apologize. Let's see if this works. There we go. So you see the little home, first of all, you see where it says Google Drive, right? So I can connect to Google Drive, Box.net, Dropbox, all of these, SkyDrive, that's Microsoft, right? I don't know, and I don't know what Hightail is, but all these different things. And if I connect it to it should know my Dropbox, let's see. Or if I just say, here we go, if I just hit the little application icon and say I want to create a Word document, it's called Demo, New. Drum roll, please. Wow, thank you. And you will see, lo and behold, in the palm of my hand, I hold Microsoft Word. Right? They've cleaned it up a little while. Yeah, wow. There it is, right? 10-year-old technology, right, in your hand. So what you'll see is that it's really not, it's hard to use, right? And then when you start to type, you lose a whole lot of the screen and all of that. But it's there. It's absolutely free. It ties into the cloud storage you already use. So if that's what you need, then it's there for you, right? A lot of people, how come you can't buy an iPad because there's no Office for the iPad? Well, just because Microsoft isn't talented enough to write the code doesn't mean that, right? Okay. There's also the Google Drive option, right? If you're a Google Apps school, Google Drive has an app, and you can edit your documents, your Word files. You can edit spreadsheets a little bit, and you can edit presentations even less. It's okay, it's not great. There are better ways to get at your files. You can use the Google Drive web interface in Safari and actually do more. If all you need is text documents, then the Google Drive app works pretty well, except it can't show the contents of tables. So if you need to see what's in a table, it just doesn't show. It just says there's a table here. but I can't show it to you. So Google writes pretty good code. I'm sure they'll pick it up. But again, I think trying to approximate the desktop experience is the wrong way to get about this, right? The right way to approach it is to try to find alternatives. For example, Evernote. Quick hand show for Evernote fans. There are a lot of you. Good. Evernote's a magic app. It holds everything, right? It's an everything bucket. If you see something cool on the side of the road, you take a picture of it, it goes into Evernote. If somebody hands you a note, you can shoot a picture of it, Evernote will read it for you and let you search it. You type in Evernote, you draw in Evernote, it holds everything, and it's really powerful and searchable and free. You can pay them to get more features, but the free version works really, really well. So if you like Evernote, great. It covers, I haven't opened Word and created a Word document in years. It covers most of those features if you're just writing for yourself. I use an app called Simple Note if Evernote's too complicated. Simple Note is exactly what it sounds like. It's just text notes. Nothing in here but text. Can't take pictures. Okay, I'm not logged in. I'm not going to bother waiting for it, but it's totally free. You can get to it from the web. There's a dozen applications on the Mac, a dozen on the PC. They all synchronize together. If all you're doing is writing notes, and let's talk, business for a second. That could be lesson plan ideas. That could be notes about student work. That could be preparation for conferences, right? You can write it on your phone. You could write it on your iPad. You could write it at your desk. You could write it at home. It all goes up to the cloud, and you've got it, right? So get your data off these devices and up into the cloud is the secret sauce here. And Simple Note is a great tool if all you need is words. So there's that. In addition to like the Microsoft Office desktop replacement idea, once you've got this thing in your hand in the classroom and you're not tied to the front of the room, then there's a whole lot more you can do while you move around. Things like taking attendance and assessing student work and all of that. And I've got some example apps that I'll show you quickly. But whatever your attendance program is, there's no reason why you can't do it from your iPad. Quick show of hands if you don't know how to take a web page and bookmark it on your iPad and treat it like an app. Does everybody know that? Or should I show you real quick? If you just open any old web page in the web browser, and I don't even know what this is. I hope it's not embarrassing. Okay, good. It's Go iPad. There's the web page. So down at the bottom of the screen, on the top of the screen on the iPad, top left corner, is that little box with an arrow. That's the share icon. And if I tap that, one of my choices, bottom row in the center, is Add to Home Screen. See it? And if I hit that button, it gives it a name, and I can change that name if I want to. See? So I'll call it something, and hit Add. And now there it is in the bottom right-hand corner. And if I hit that button, it opens up that web page. So I can do that with my school's attendance program, for example, and then with one tap, I've got that page right open in the palm of my hand, and I can take attendance, while my students are doing a do now or something like that. So grade books, attendance, there's literally dozens in the App Store, or you can use it via the web. Do we know about Class Dojo? Class Dojo, very quickly, is a behavior management app. I've seen it used with success with students as old as 7th and 8th grade. I think any older than that, and it starts to feel a little cheesy. But Class Dojo, you create accounts for students. They get an avatar, and you merit and demerit them for behavior. And it prints out nice reports, and it's fun and cartoony, and a very positive way to manage behavior. So you can do that from the palm of your hand, right, as you walk around the room. A friend of mine teaches in the school I used to teach at in Florida, and he would put the Class Dojo website open on his computer, but not on the screen. And then he'd open it on his iPhone or iPad, and while the kids were doing group work, he would be meriting or demeriting them. When you do that, the app, the website, as I give Billy a merit, the website makes a little cha-ching sound. And when you give Billy a demerit, it makes a little wah-wah sound, right? And so he had the speakers on his PC. So as he's walking around the room, he's just doing that. The students have no idea what he saw, but they hear the sounds, right? And it's just this sort of almost subconscious, Pavlovian, right? Positive, negative feedback that he's giving the room, right? You and I were thinking the same thing. And they responded accordingly, and the results were pretty impressive. So that kind of thing, right in your hand, and just the sound can permeate the classroom environment. There's a great app that I'm going to recommend you take a look at called Planbook. And Planbook is exactly what it sounds like. It's in its 8th or 9th or 10th version. The guy, Rick Hellman, is that the guy's name? Something like that, Hellmansoft, Jeff Hellman. Jeff Hellman's been developing it. This is some old data, but it's a plan book, you know, the book with the squares like you have. Runs on the PC, runs on the Mac, runs on the iPad. You can sync the files up to the cloud. I just opened this from Dropbox, right? And the data all lives in the same place. But if I open up this lesson, right, it's got all the learning targets. It's got Common Core objective. It's got places for me to put homework, and he's got a way that you can publish all that to the web so parents can see it, or print it out in a nice report that you can distribute or give to whoever you have to give your lessons plan to. It does neat stuff like you put in days when school is going to meet and isn't going to meet, and then if there's a snow day, for example, which I didn't have to worry about before in Florida, but now I do, in New Jersey, you can push everything forward a day or pull it all back a day, and it understands the skip patterns and all. It's a great piece of software, and it's a great example of climbing up that SAMR ladder, right? You take what you used to do on paper and just augment it a little bit, second or third step, and it's a great way to move out of that paper plan book. And it's all searchable and blah, 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 blah. So plan book, it's cost, it's not free, but it's not horribly expensive, and it's a great app, and it runs right here in the palm of your hand on the iPad. How am I doing on time? I'm supposed to be done in 5 minutes. We started late. I'm going to rush. Very quickly, I'll talk about the idea that if your students have their own devices, then you can run all those question and answer, checkout ticket things like Socrative and all that. You can run from the iPad too. So if this is the only device in your classroom, but the kids have phones, and they could poll everywhere, respond via text message or those kinds of things, then you can run all that as you move around the room. The key is, remember, you're not, like I am, not showing you. The key is that you're not pinned to the front of the room. Similarly, there are presentation tools like Keynote and Prezi. There's a great app for the iPad called Haiku. We know about Haiku? Haiku is a presentation app that it does two things very, very well, Haiku Deck. It builds beautiful presentations, and it forces you to not make ugly presentations. Because, I mean, here, when you build a presentation in Haiku, this is the one I made actually to demo this a couple of months ago. It's photograph based, right? You could do text and numbers and things like that, and this is a really bad demo because I don't really know what's coming next. I made this presentation a long time ago. But it limits the number of words you can put on a slide, right? You can't put 3 paragraphs on a slide. There's just no way to do it in the app. So it's forcing you to create presentations that are nice to look at. It makes these fancy graphs and charts, but it's really designed for these giant photographs that it's not showing you right now because of the internet. If you're going to present at FETC, don't rely on internet access. But when you create a slide, like you type on the slide, something about, Edgar Allan Poe, and then when you go to the insert image page, it's already showing you pictures of Edgar Allan Poe that it's searched on the internet and from Flickr and Creative Commons licensed stuff, and then you just choose it and it drops it right in the app. So it does beautiful stuff. The typography is beautiful. The images look really good. It's a great way to build nice presentations, and then you show them here, and they just launched a web app a couple of months ago, so you can get at it all on the web. You can build it all on the web. So again, now any device that lives in the cloud, that same recurring theme. The last thing, really, I'll talk about, 2 things very, very quickly, is your students in your classroom are doing work. This is not just a device that I can show you stuff with. It's a video camera and a camera, right? So I can take pictures of student work. I can take videos of students doing work, and I can do stuff with that. For example, there's an app called 3Ring, like a 3-ring binder, and it's a boring demo. I'm not going to show it to you, but essentially, I put my students in groups, and then I do anything with my iPad, type a note, record myself, shoot a video, take a picture, and I can assign that thing to Sarah, to Billy, to David, and it's tied to that student. So I take a picture of Billy's work, I can then annotate it, I can type, I can talk, and it uploads to the cloud, and then it's there. So when parent-teacher conferences come, I can open up these portfolios that I've generated just by virtue of the fact that I have this thing in my hand all the time, and I'm shooting a picture, recording a video, asking Billy what he did today, reflect on that activity into my iPad, and then I've got that recorded, right? So 3Ring, totally free. I don't understand how these companies expect to stay around, but for now, it's good to know. I really am out of time. I'll just say this. The ability to create podcasts, right? Record yourself drawing on the screen and talking and turn that into a video, like a flipped lesson, to use the buzzword video. Very easy on the iPad. The app I recommend is called Explain Everything. It costs a couple of bucks. TechSmith makes a great product called Screen Chomp, which is simpler to use and free, and students can use it. They're both great. There's 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 apps in this space, but you could put a presentation in there if you want to, or you can just start with a blank slate, talk, draw, and it becomes a movie. And that whole thing is recorded, and then you can do stuff with it, and that can become your lesson. So if I can just wrap up, give me your attention for one more minute. I'm very aware of the fact that I went over, and I apologize for that. But this is worth looking at. Not this part. Give me my mouse. Give me my mouse. I want to make one last point. Give me my mouse, please, please. Give me my mouse. Come on. If you're going to record video, right? Quick show of hands, people who think you're going to record video in a classroom. There's a problem in America today called vertical video syndrome, right? Vertical video syndrome is when you record your video with your phone this way instead of that way, right? So the fix is to just hold your phone the right way, right? Or your iPad, hold it the right way. There's a great app. I lost a, oh no I didn't, I just don't have a mouse. There we go. There's a great app called Horizon, and it costs 99 cents. Horizon, I should have showed you this before I took off my iPad. It's on sale now for 99 cents. I believe it costs $2 whole, regular price. And it's a video recording app, and you'll see here it's just recording video, right? But if you could see this, when I turn it, it keeps the widescreen video format. No matter how I move my iPad screen, it keeps me that same widescreen view. You see that? Can you see that in the back? So you never get vertical video, right? And the other cool thing is, if you could imagine, when you turn your iPad, you're zooming in, right? So you've got a zoom lens without pinching and zooming right on your iPad, records video. It's $1, right? It's my, this is the coolest app I've seen this week, app recommendation for you. And sort of, you know, that's it. I was going to introduce it like this. I have this fun slide, and then I'm done, which was that we were here at FETC, right, and we learned a thing or two. And that was going to be my one more thing for the end of the talk. And then I have a fun video that I really had. It's like 2 minutes long. Do it? All right, here we go. This is me, right? So you're going to record a video in class. Here you go.
This video didn't have to look this way. It could have been prevented. Say no to vertical videos.
Vertical videos happen when you hold your camera the wrong way. Your video will end up looking like crap.
There are more and more people addicted to making vertical videos every day. It's not crack or nothing, but it's still really bad. Vertical video syndrome is dangerous. Motion pictures have always been horizontal. Televisions are horizontal. Computer screens are horizontal. People's eyes are horizontal. We aren't built to watch vertical videos. I love vertical videos!
Nobody cares about you.
If this problem's left unchecked, YouTube will begin showing 4 videos at once, just to save bandwidth.
Letterboxed vertical videos would be the size of a postage stamp.
And it will spread everywhere. Movie screens have always been horizontal. If vertical videos become accepted, movie theaters will have to be tall and skinny.
And all the movie theaters would have to get torn down and rebuilt. And by the time they were rebuilt, Mina Coolitz would be old and ugly.
And birds will crash into them and die.
And we will all get stiff necks from looking up.
And no one will sit in the front row ever again.
And George Lucas will re-release Star Wars again. The skinny edition.
I was never really able to tell the story that I wanted to tell. This is a great chance for me to experiment with a new technology.
You're a jerk.
Every time a mobile device is used to record video, the temptation is there. Just say no. Say no to George Lucas. Say no to old Mila Kunis. Say no to vertical videos.
And if you see someone doing it, say, "You're not shooting that right, dummy!"
All right, there you go. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. The FETC survey link is up on the screen. You should certainly write evaluations of all the sessions you go to. The join code for the Remind 101 group is in the top there also. I would love to hear from you. My email address is there. You can reach me on Twitter at Mr. D. It was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much.